I thought it'd be fun to bring on both play-by-play voices of the teams. Joining us again on the Western Pizza guest hotline from the Regina Pat Canadians, Ardenn Lloyd, and from the Moose Jaw Warriors, JD Haughton. Fellas, it's here again. Ardenn, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, that all signs were pointing to this, but then the Saskatoon Blazers were like, hold up, we got something to say. And then now they extend and they push Moose Jaw not only to Game 5, but to overtime. Regina Pat Canadians, they might not want to say it, but it's like, go beat each other up. We're here resting.
Yeah, it was a little bit up in the booth. It was nearly as exciting as calling those games, but we'd check the box scores in between the intermission, and I'm like, oh, check it again. Check it. Oh, they're going to 4. Oh, they're going to 5. Oh, it's going to OT. Oh my goodness. So I had a roller coaster just watching the box scores. I can't imagine what it was like to be there.
JD, we heard your call. We played it on the show yesterday. It was exciting. Definitely a day of rest for the vocal cords. Was it always going to be Ryan Gibbs that scored that goal?
You know what? Actually, it's funny. Before that game, I don't think Ryan has had the playoffs so far leading up into Game 5 that I think he wanted to have. He led the league in goals with 41 as a 17-year-old, and propelled past his stats from last year. But he only came into Game 5, I think, with 4 assists. So I think for him, we were all talking. We're like, Gibby's due for a game, and I think he tied the game twice and got the game winner. The hometown kid, and in his home rink in front of all his high school buddies and all his classmates. I had a feeling that he was going to break out. Obviously, a hat trick in Game 5, including the game winner. That wasn't on the old bingo card, but I think for him, you couldn't have written that any better. It was awesome.
Ardenn, what do you got to say on that?
I just got to say, that's the last thing that we wanted to see. We noticed the same thing, right? Gibbs had a bit of a slow playoffs, but man, hat trick performance coming up. We hate to come into that hot hand.
But shooters got to shoot, right? And then they step up at the right time. I want to ask you, Ardenn, do you got any inside baseball for us? Do we know, is Maddox Schultz and Liam Pugh expected to play in this? I know the live barn feed at the Cooperator Center is always locked, so I don't know. But yeah, what do you know about those two players for the Pat C's?
So I've got no 100% confirmation insider trading for you, but I imagine it's a split, as they both have games eligible to play for the Regina Pats proper and their WHL push. They need to gain a point on Brandon here in the last weekend in some way or another. All they need is an OT loss to secure a playoff spot, but they lose out and Moose Jaw wins out. That's playoffs gone. So a split is likely, and once the Pats make the playoffs, if that might overlap just a tad with the end of this series, it's entirely possible. So they'll be in the lineup, but I can't tell you with 100% certainty that they'll be in it for the whole series.
JD, when you've called the games and you've watched the Pat C's play, a lot of people are saying the Pat C's are still a really good hockey team without these two players in. But let's be honest, you got Maddox Schultz and Liam Pugh. It's a different ball of wax. How do you think the Warriors are gonna handle this? How do they match up with and without those two in the lineup?
I think they, obviously with those two in the lineup, they're two really exceptional players. That's why they were granted exceptional status. It's in the last 3 years, to play up an age group. We saw it last year with Maddox in our league. He scored 93 points as a 14-year-old. They're really, really great players. And just for us to match up with them when they're in the lineup is just to be really good in our own end and good structure and good defensively. And I think, we've had great goaltending all year with both of our goaltenders. So I think that those guys just need to stand tall as well. And for us really is stay out of the penalty box. I remember last year, all 3 of those games were close in the league final last year, but it was, there was moments where we took a penalty and they were able to capitalize, and that ended up being the game winner, in 3 really low scoring games. So I think for us, just stay to our structure, be good defensively, be good in our own zone, because those two can make you pay for mistakes. And then, they're still a really good team without those two in the lineup. Malachi Martin, Nathan Gardner, Ethan Young, Riker Doka, the list goes, Grady Hodgins. They've all been really good. And I think the same goes for if they're not in the lineup. We just have to play our game and be successful and score when we have scoring chances, especially on the power play.
Ardenn, do you think home ice is really a factor in this one? When I watched Moose Jaw play the one time, I couldn't really tell the first line from the third line apart. They were just forechecking, they were banging, they were all over it. Is the last change going to be that much of a factor? Maybe with Liam and Maddox in the lineup, and then just the atmosphere as well. I feel Moose Jaw just down the road, they got guys that have played here and they're from the area. I don't know if the atmosphere is that much of a factor for either team here.
Yeah, with the travel as close as it is, expect big crowds from either side and either barns, right? And you mentioned the depth on the lines for Moose Jaws. It makes it tough for matchups, but that's the same way for the Pat Canadians, right? They've had 3 really solid lines that they roll through when Schultz and Pugh are out of the lineup. And when you add those 2 players in, it almost gives an extra 3 players on the ice, because it's a whole extra 4th line that has as much depth as the rest of the lineup when those 2 guys are out there. So as long as we don't shatter any more plexiglass corners in Regina, home ice advantage should be okay, but it's dangerous. We've had to add the PA guy come up and say, hey, youth hockey teams, this has happened too many times. We can't break another plexiglass in the corner. There's already a segment that's a foot lower than the rest of it, because that's all we had for replacements. So.
Yeah, I heard them. They were on Facebook Marketplace looking for some new plexiglass, and the security that they have at the Cooperator Center. We've all seen it. Like, you don't want to mess with that stuff there for a number of reasons. Okay, I want to go around the horn here, and JD, going to put you on the hot seat first, since you're the visitor. Kind of. I need a prediction.
Oh, I had a feeling that this was coming, and I was trying to think about what I wanted to say. You know what? I think that this is we have half of our team is returning from last year. The team players that experienced that heartbreak in Regina in Game 3. You know what? Obviously, with me supporting the team that I call games for, I'm going to say Moose Jaw in 5.
All right. Ardenn, I know I can pretty much put down here what you're going to say, but fire away.
I'd be fired live on radio if I didn't back the Pat Canadians. And you know what? I'm going to match the sentiment of 5 games. I think there's no better way than this series to end in 5 games. It was a regular season series split, really, in wins and losses. You can get a little technical, and the OT losses are not a point here or there, but it was a split win and loss in the regular season, and lots of those games went to OT. And I think what could be a better scenario than having the 2 top teams in the province and arguably 2 of the top teams in the entire nation going at it for 5 full games, plus some OT ice.
Well, and then we get to see them at the regionals in 2 weeks again, regardless. So, okay, last prediction, over under 0.5 panes of glass in this series. Anybody want to touch that action?
I'll take the over. Every day of the week I'm taking the over.
Please, no. We don't need any more late nights.
Listen, I start work at 4 a.m. I don't want it as much as the next guy, but I'm a man of facts.
Yeah. I joked, and there's going to be so many people there again. I took the picture last year from the one corner. People were like, is that really the Sixer? I'm like, yeah. Like, it's busy when Real puts 2 bartenders on. So I'm expecting that again this weekend. I'll be there tomorrow night, boys. Thanks for doing this, both of you. And we'll have to regroup. I don't know if it's during this series, but before regionals for sure. Thanks for taking time today, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.